Right, I just want to cut to the chase. The fact that people are trying to tell me that they're not motivated, the fact that you're not where you want to be right now is enough motivation for you to get moving, eat the right foods and do as you're told. Yeah, if I say it's one more rep, you give me one more rep, one more set, it all counts. If you want to achieve that goal that bad, like you've told me, like you've told your friends, like you've told your family, you go out there and get it. I want you to just wobble that head and say to myself, why am I stalling? Why am I not doing this? It's lockdown. Yeah, we're in our homes. It's the situation. Adapt, crack on and move forward. Just get going. Not really. Only joking. Calm down. Breathe. That took me a few takes to do, but I did want to sound quite assertive and aggressive just to get your attention. But what I also want you to understand is staying motivated and being motivated is not all about being hardcore, ego, slap me around the face in the gym, sniff smelling salts kind of style. We don't need to be listening to heavy metal every workout that we do. It don't need to be the coldest, darkest gym that we go to. Hard workers don't brag about being hard workers, guys. And I respect that so much. Now, I want to talk about through having weekly check-ins with my clients. We're more distance now, so we do this on via email and FaceTime and stuff like that. And I've noticed that motivation, we're coming into week 6 of lockdown from my clients, and it's becoming quite difficult. And it's like a bit more slack on themselves now. I don't want us to panic. This doesn't make you a bad person. It's completely normal. I'm going to talk about staying motivated. I'm going to break it into kind of different categories. So I'm going to speak about the initial phase. So we've got this ourselves. Clients that have just come to the cave to get started on a personal journey to achieving the physique and the goals that they desire. We're just getting started, and then gym's closed. Everything we had planned has changed. So all of a sudden you had this anticipation of seeing your trainer once or twice a week, being in the gym. It might be, a studio or with your trainer in a commercial gym. That's fine. But what we need to accept now is that's changed. But it doesn't affect your goals. Your goals, it's like your goals don't care if you're tired. Now, in this situation, when I start with clients on the journey, in most cases, it's the stuff we do off the gym floor initially, which is most important and most valuable to me and the client and their journey. So the hour on the week at the top of the pyramid there, that hour of the week, that 2 hours of the week in the gym is the icing on the cake. That's that checking, that accountability, teaching and learning. But when you look at the bottom and the base of the pyramid, all that comes from all the other hours of the week that you're on your own. So if you're initially starting your journey, don't panic, because there's so many things you need to be focusing about before you kind of come in later down the line. So getting your nutrition in order, lifestyle, creating habits, positive habits that you can be doing on a daily basis, the activity level on the daily basis that you need to be thinking about. The other one is you're a client, you're an individual, you're used to going to your gym regularly, you're used to going to group sessions, whatever that is, sports, lockdown, and everything's had to stop. So therefore, it's about you adapting and accepting change in a positive mindset. So this is the situation at hand. We've adapted the way that we shop, we social distance and stuff like that. It's going to be the same for your training. I understand that some people train with a buddy or some friends or in a group. Some people train on their own. So when it changes, accept that situation and just think this is the way it is now. It's not always going to be like this, but use this as a way of focusing on the things you may not usually do enough of. Other things, injuries, and I can speak about this one myself because I had an injury last August and it just stunned me, it stopped me back. I've never been injured before, and my mindset broke, then changed, and I realised actually at first this is not great, and then I gave my head a wobble and I realised actually because my knee is injured, there's things that I can still do and there's things that I need to do, and that's what I want you guys to think like too. So if you're somebody that's you train but you're now injured, so you're losing that motivation, so think about what I can do. So for me in that situation, I could still train my upper body and I could still do some form of conditioning, whether that was using the battle ropes or the ski, and it didn't really affect my knee and its recovery. Other things that was what I can do, but what I needed to do was stretch, and that's something that all of us could probably appreciate from, making mobility your friend and doing more of that. So in that situation, what you need to do, your injury may require rest. It doesn't make you a bad person because you're resting more. It's not going to, it might send you mentally insane, but it's going to have you so many better impacts in the longer term, that longevity and the adherence to exercise over a long term too. So don't be too short-minded, think long game. Another category I broke this. So I broke it into 4, and the 4th one is being lost in your why. Now, it got recommended to me by a client. It's a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. Fantastic read. I'd recommend anybody to read it, especially if you've got a lot of time on your hands. And it's talking about making sure your why you do what you do is in sync with the how and what, and then it all kind of makes sense. For us, you may have just achieved your goal. So you had your why you was training and why your lifestyle was like it is now or was. Now you've probably not got a goal, so now you need to either reset a goal or re-establish your why. So I'm on this journey. I've just forgotten why I wanted to get to the end result. And remind yourself, it doesn't make you a bad person. Everything's kind of taken over in life. Stresses, homeschooling, adapting the way they work. Being at home more can be a bit stuck in between 4 walls. In the same way, it can be like, I'm close to the fridge, I'm close to bad habits, TV, Netflix, snacking, all kind of less ideal choices you want to be making. I want to say on that as well, if you're drinking alcohol at home, it doesn't make you a bad person. Yeah, it can be not the most ideal choice for your goals, but we're adapting, and that's what our goals are doing. So when we talk about lockdown and lockdown goals, we're adapting our goals to suit the environment. So don't panic if you have a beer at the weekend or a couple of beers through the week. It's not the end of the world, but you've got to accept that you're doing that is not going to be optimal for your goals. Other ones, when you look at why, it's not setting personal goals and not generic goals. The generic, I want to lose weight. You may not need to lose weight, but you've set this goal. Choose something that is personal to you, and a goal is not always a measure of your body weight. A goal could be how active you are. Could you be stepping 10,000? Could you do 10,000 steps a day? Could you be stretching more? It could be improving your sports performance. Other things to think about is on here I was talking about what triggers. So I've written down what triggers motivation, and some things I spoke about was emotions. So it's completely normal for your motivation to be higher on some days and low on other days. That's normal. It can be impacted by stress and environments, and it's a great example of this is Summer Olympics are on. You watch the Olympics. Wow, I want to go and do the 5,000, 10,000 meters. I want to be the best I can be. But when that emotion's passed and the Olympics have gone, do you still want to run 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters? It may not necessarily be there. So was that goal ideal for you? Because when the mood has passed, the emotion has passed, you should still want to achieve that goal. And that's when you're choosing a goal that is appropriate to you. You've got to, your goals, like I said, your goals don't matter how tired you are. Your goals want you, if you want that goal that bad, you find the way and the time for it. Environment, no gym, we're in isolation, that's going to impact our motivation. I completely get that. And it's finding what works for you. Some people like actually doing yoga in the garden. I did that last night, really enjoyed it, but I would not have done it before without being in lockdown. Other things, going on walks, that can be, training on your own could work for you. It may be different, but it could be something new, and adapt with a positive mindset. Create habits. So staying motivated on a whole, and I always encourage this for clients, and I hope this can benefit you too, is about creating good habits and kind of stopping the bad habits or replacing those bad habits with better habits. So motivation will be irrelevant if you've got good habits in place. So at the start of lockdown, I spoke about alarm clocks, daily rituals and training routines. If you train at set days and times over the week, stick to that. If you get up at 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m, stick with that. If you have similar lunches, breakfast, dinners, stick with that. If you always have a morning coffee, stick with it. What you do on a daily basis, keep it as normal and keep those habits in place. If you walk in the evening, you've got a dog, you walk on a daily basis, stick with it. Doesn't change. And if we can be as normal as that, we start to, whether the motivation's there or not, you're just going to stick with these habits. And when we talk about the habits of, so a reference kind of alcohol and snacking or not being as active and stuff. So the moment you start letting that habit creep in. So say, for example, you're somebody that trains on a Monday evening on a weekly basis, religious, you stop training on that Monday evening, it could affect the remainder of your week, and you set up for the week. If you all of a sudden start, in the evening, usually I'd be drinking water, but now I'm drinking beers, you're creating a bad habit instead of a good habit. And this is where we start to learn to change that and recognize it with yourself. There's nothing, be self-responsible, be honest with yourself. And you know, what am I doing? What are my good habits and what are my bad habits? And then you can start. I'm a massive fan of writing things down. For me, it works, you know, you have a to-do list, you start scribbling them off as you're doing them. It's motivating. I love to see that. You know, it could be writing something, sticking it up on the fridge. So if you kind of, you know, wrote down your good habits, your bad habits, you wrote down your goal and why you do it, and stick that up, whether it's on the fridge, in the gym, or your bit of space that you're training at home, stick it on the wall. This is my goal and this is why I want to achieve it. You know, I've got this injury, this is what I can do and this is what I need to do. And it's often a reminder. It's the best way, visualization of seeing it. That works for me. Good habits and bad habits on the same piece of paper. Write it down and see it and remind yourself of that. Problems. So if you're used to seeing your trainer, you know, you're working with a trainer on a weekly basis, and all of a sudden this step back's a new adaptation for you, and you start, or you've not got a trainer at all and you're trying to be responsible for your motivation, or responsible for it. You may not have the knowledge and understanding of what you need to be doing, so you start to self-doubt yourself. Am I doing this right? Am I doing enough? Is this correct? Is this wrong? You know, you can read and hear a lot of things that are right and wrong. Everything has its time and place, and everything has pros and cons. Yeah, so don't overthink things too much. But when you're looking at assessing that, so there's a lot, you can often use the poor choice of assessment tools. So typically you're in isolation, so you may not be moving as much. You're probably more temptation to some poorer nutrition choices. Your availability to train at the same intensity you was training at before and the same duration might have drawn in as well. So all of a sudden you're still using the same assessment tools. So it could be the scales, it could be your genes, logging your activity levels, and then all of a sudden you've gone from training 6 hours a week, which can be fine. You know, I'd rather you be addicted to exercise rather than addicted to go to the pub and binge drinking or, you know, food eating. If you can be, you know, you look at those 6 hours and now you're doing 3 or 4, you're going to beat yourself up about it. But the fact is, you're still doing 4 hours physical exercise a week. And when I speak with clients and we're getting started, it's, can you commit to 4 hours exercise per week in order to achieve your goals and adapt your physique? So, because you do more and you're coming down a bit more rest is not going to do you any harm at all. And, you know, filling your time with the stuff you need to do as well. Other ones, the scales. You're not as active and you're still using the scales. So what are you're not going to see the same results. So start adjusting the way you think. So 10,000 steps a day, it's partly because me and a few friends are actually having a bit of conversation about this steps thing. So I'm checking through the day, and that's probably being accountable. It's worked for me, you know. I would naturally step anyway, but now being in lockdown, I'm always thinking, right, where am I at this time of the day? Right, I'm going to move more. So it's what works for you, and that accountability. How to stay motivated, create good habits, writing it down, visualizing that, and also one is choosing. So let's say lockdown's going to be another 6 weeks. So you could go now, when you know the video finishes, write down a 6-week goal, not generic, personal to you. Choose one goal to focus over the next 6 weeks and look at ways of measuring that too. So where you're at now, so I've used it a lot, but the reference of steps per day. So I average, for example, 5,000 steps a day. 6 weeks, I want to have done 10,000 steps every day. On a weekly basis, every Monday morning I can say how many steps did I do for the past week. Log it down on a piece of paper again. Week 2, how many steps did I do this week? And then you start to see, actually, I should be at 70,000 steps per week. And then you start to see that. And when you're it's intrinsically rewarding. Yeah, I'm trying to move more and I am moving more. Brilliant. Let's keep it up. I feel good in myself. That is motivation. But all because that motivation is not the hardcore, yeah, man, I train hard, I throw weights around, pumping iron, I slapped it. It's not about being like that, guys. And it's adapting your motivation to work for you. Logging progress. So that's referring to we set the weekly targets and we start to log the progress. So, you know, for me, with on a weekly check-in with clients, we set a goal for the week and then we review the goal at the end of the week. So that works with, you know, clients, but you might do this with yourself, or you might, you know, telling friends and family what you're doing creates a positive network around you. You know, next 6 weeks before I lockdown, you know, I may have lost my motivation, but I'm regaining it and I want to achieve this. Hopefully this kind of videos kind of eased your mind, inspired you, give you a little insight into kind of how I'd like you to think about motivation.